And welcome to Sports Opinion, the weekly sports talk show on Channel 18. That is public access TV. My name is Dirk Keller. Look who's back. It's Bob Boyd. Welcome home.
I made it back.
Bob's been on assignment.
Yes, sir.
Scouting for the Hawkeyes and the Regals.
Came back just in time for winter.
That's right. He got back just in time for the snow.
Welcome home.
Thank
Pat
you.
White is with us again. Pat, nice to have you here. Really enjoy
Good to be back.
talking with you every week. And Earl the Pearl Murphy.
Absolutely.
Still here. That's Earl with two E's.
Still
by
here.
the way. Yeah. Earl's here. Joe Murphy's behind the King Things Happen. And we are here on a very cold Wednesday to talk about Hawkeye sports and a little bit about high school sports. Bob, you've been gone for a couple weeks on your assignment. And there have been some changes.
That's what I hear.
In the Hawkeye football roster. 2 weeks ago, we lost Mikhail McCall, the freshman running back, who I guess broke his ankle first game of the season. Got suspended after he came back, and is now headed and in fact already in class in Carbondale, Illinois, at Southern Illinois University.
Which was where Jewel Hampton went to.
That's right, and it's where Jewel Hampton left a year early to go to the NFL draft.
Is he that good, guys?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't either.
Now, maybe he's improved a lot since we've seen him, but he's small. I'll be surprised.
Yeah.
Same here.
Well, they are going for a smaller.
But, Darren Sproles has had a heck of a year. I mean,
Yes.
He'll be in the running for, he'll be in the running for Offensive Player of the Year. Carrying the ball, catching passes, has had a great year, so people are looking at smaller backs.
And the big guys in the NFL take a pounding.
Yeah, well,
They don't last long.
Yeah. Well, a lot of backs don't
It's a
last
tough
long in the
position.
NFL. I'll tell you,
Right.
that's got to be tough.
So, the Hawks lost McCall.
That wasn't a surprise, though.
Terribly?
We
No.
knew he was probably going to be gone.
Disappointing, but not terribly.
Okay.
But then last week, at about this time, we also found out that Marcus Coker is leaving.
Yeah.
That was a surprise in that after the Insight Bowl, Gary Barta and Kirk Ferentz both said they expect him and McCall to be back, which led me at the time, and I think a lot of fans, to believe that whatever it wasn't that big a deal. We have since learned there was a sexual assault investigation where no charges were brought, and yet he was still kicked out of school. I'm sorry. He still left school. There are implications that maybe he was asked to leave.
Well,
no proof.
Here's a little different scenario. I don't know this to be the fact, but trying to put two and two together within the university system. Either the young woman who was involved in the assault complaint or somebody in a position of authority within the university administration outside of the athletic department started a code of student life disciplinary proceeding. And I say that in part because of the lapse of time between the date the allegation occurred, the alleged act, October 28th, which was the same afternoon we left for Minnesota,
Yes.
by the way. And the announcement that he was suspended, and reading between the lines, I'm assuming the Code of Student Life Administrative Proceedings geared up, hearing set, witnesses called, and some hearing officer concluded there was reason to believe he was guilty of some offense that the young woman didn't want to pursue criminally for all the historic reasons that sex crime victims are reluctant. And a decision was suspended from activities. The announcement had all the earmarks of something outside of Kirk and Gary Barta's decision-making, but university administration.
I'd say that was right.
And we know from a Twitter, as much as you can know, because we know it came from him, he said he didn't want to admit to something that he didn't do, and he felt it was not fair that he was being punished for something he didn't do. So it's entirely possible that whatever proceeding took place that led to his suspension just led him to think, you know, these folks think I did something wrong when I didn't, and I'm going to go someplace else where they trust me.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Did she seek medical care?
Yes.
Okay.
I think he did.
Well, we'll never know. And you know, this is a little off, this is on the point, it's anecdotal to be sure, but young man who's still, I won't use his name because there's no need to rehash this, but probably 20 years ago, our office prosecuted an athlete for sexual assault. There was absolutely no doubt in my mind he was guilty. It went to trial. He pled not guilty, and there's absolutely no doubt in my mind he believed he was not guilty.
Okay.
And there are a lot of these cases where that's true, that they're guilty in a technical sense, but in their own mind, they don't believe they did anything wrong. A lot of things have changed in 30, 40 years. Well,
But in a young man's mind, a lot of things haven't changed.
jury found him not guilty. And
Really?
Oh, yeah. He was acquitted, to our disappointment, to his satisfaction, and he's gone on to probably a pretty prosperous athletic career. And Coker could be in the same situation. He could believe he's not guilty. The young woman believes he is. We'll never know what a jury would have said.
No. No, it's a shame it had to come to that.
Because he's, by all accounts,
A good man, a fine young man.
Otherwise a fine young man, bright student.
He was used by the university in a video
Right.
to promote Iowa and life. And like I say, it's shocking, really. When we first heard about it, we were shocked because of what we'd learned about him and his upbringing, his mother being such a strong part of his life, and a community focus that had been inbred in he and his siblings by his parents. He would be the last one.
You know, one of the things that's interesting about his use in that video is the university is also using Adrian Claiborne in a promotion that's running whenever they're on Big Ten Network or national TV. And Claiborne himself had a run-in with the law.
Yes.
He was charged with assault, pled guilty. I forget whether he pled guilty to disorderly conduct or simple assault. It was a misdemeanor.
I think he pled down.
And, I mean, evidence, again, to something that we all know, which is young men, particularly young men, young people, but particularly young men, occasionally make mistakes.
Yeah.
The humorous was the yelling from the stands during the football game.
Yeah.
Adrian, she's calling his name.
Yeah.
Well, and I think sometimes in these situations with these college kids, and you evaluate, you've certainly been exposed to a lot of them being an attorney for years past, but what was right last night, all of a sudden the next day was the wrong thing. And then you have one of the persons that were involved responding sometimes. You know, and it's just, boy, there's a fine line there, and it's a tough thing for any of these kids in college to go through, but it's too bad that this had to happen. But I think part of it also, a reaction to this by an administration, for example, outside of the athletic department, is what you have seen in the newspapers and all over the media and the TV in the last few months in regards to other athletic programs that have had problems. And major problems. And I think a lot of these administrators today, and I would be the same way if I were in their position, are going to react pretty quickly on the right side of the line, I guess,
Yeah,
to
they're
take
gun shy.
themselves, because, you know, they should be gun shy, because, you know what? Their jobs can be in jeopardy. And that's a big part of it as well. So
We haven't mentioned her name, but the president of the University of Iowa.
Yeah.
You mentioned her name?
Not yet.
I'd say I will, but I think the end of all this mess ends with her.
Well, it may.
Well,
It's hard to say.
She's the final
the
word.
That's
code of
right.
student life decision-making process doesn't end with her, but she,
Who does it end with?
well, it ends with a hearing officer. And
Okay.
there are appeal
Okay.
rights from that,
But she has some influence.
which probably could end up with her, but she speaks for the university
Yeah.
administration. She spoke up in support of the suspension, so she
Yeah.
obviously had some access to the facts. One of the things, while we're talking about the various ramifications of Coker's situation, friend of mine, and a very good lawyer, and a lawyer knowledgeable of sex abuse allegations and procedures, Roxanne Conlon,
Oh, yeah.
spoke up publicly critical of Kirk and Gary Barta. She's absolutely wrong. Kirk has demonstrated time after time after time that he has no hesitation to act when he concludes that an offense has been committed. He's suspended players on the team immediately.
Abe Satterfield, Cedric Everson, both.
Dominic Douglas.
Dominic Douglas.
Yeah.
But in this case, the fact that he didn't connotes that he had some question whether it was an offense.
Yes.
And that adds to the appearance that it went through the university administrative code of student life procedure rather than the athletic department procedure. So Roxanne criticized Kirk and Gary for not acting quickly enough. Well, the administrative procedure, like any quasi-judicial or administrative procedure, takes some time. You got to generate paperwork, you got to set hearings, call witnesses, you got to hold hearings, and it was 4 or 5 weeks between the alleged event and the suspension. That's not an undue amount of time. And her criticism of Kirk and Gary was way, way off base.
I thought so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think this discussion is very enlightening,
It is.
and I'm really glad we're having it.
But we don't have any tailbacks.
No, we don't have any.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
Well,
we don't have any
but
four-star.
We don't have any
Yeah, I mean-
experience tailbacks.
you
Well,
know.
We signed one.
And
Yeah, well, that's good.
Well, there's one other thing we don't have, and that's
What?
now we've learned it's A.J. Derby,
Oh, yeah.
the City High product, all-state, 4-star, highly sought high school recruit, a legacy Hawkeye recruit. His father, John, was a linebacker and all Big Ten linebacker for Hayden Fry here.
Good one.
His brother is also a defensive end on the Hawkeye team.
Tight end.
Did I see defensive? Yes,
Yeah.
tight end.
Zach.
Yeah.
And
This
played-
one, I
played a lot of
guess,
ball this fall.
this one is disappointing, but it's not like the others, and I hope that's real clear. Right now, it's Wednesday. We found out Monday afternoon about AJ, and that one just came out of the blue. I
Yeah,
don't
that
think
was really
anybody-
surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, I think it makes a lot of sense for AJ. I don't blame him. He clearly wants to be a quarterback.
That's right.
And he realized at some point this year he wasn't going to be the Iowa quarterback anytime soon. It appears that the freshman Rudick from Florida,
I guess he's for real.
he's the heir apparent. So he went to defense, AJ did.
But we were given the impression at the time when he did switch to defense and linebacker, because we all know he's a great athlete and he can play a lot of different positions if he chooses to, was a voluntary switch.
I don't doubt it was. I think it was
So he
voluntary.
rethought that, is what apparently is
Well,
happening.
I think after spending some time on the defensive side of the ball, he saw 3 sophomores starting at linebacker, which was his position, and he wasn't going to beat them out.
Well,
He may have thought that way anyhow.
I don't see A.J. Derby beat anybody out, whether it be
I don't
quarterback or
either.
linebacker.
But here, from his perspective, and this is disappointing because he's a hometown kid.
Right.
Yeah.
I watched him play for 3 years at City High, and we watched him play for a year before that at West. And I remember the night Kirk and Ken O'Keefe and Eric Johnson and a couple other coaches were in the stands at City High right before he announced he was going to Iowa. They were so excited. We all were. Well, he switched to defense to get on the field, which is the way it was played.
Yeah.
They put him in immediately on the kickoff team and the kickoff return team, so he got on the field, but he didn't play it down on defense. The switch was made during the week of the Indiana game, which was about halfway through the season.
Right.
Yep.
So they had close to 6 weeks during the season. Didn't play him a down at linebacker.
Nope.
Then they had another month, bowl preparation, and still didn't play him a down at linebacker. I don't get it. I mean, if they were gonna talk him into switching.
And that's
or-
after a lot of injuries at linebacker.
Absolutely.
late in the
Yeah,
season.
so-
That's right.
Good point, Pat. So why wasn't he on the field?
And not only that, then they go out and recruit a junior college quarterback.
Yes.
He's got to be thinking, what on earth is going on
Yeah.
here? And so, no, I don't.
Well,
as disappointed as I am, I don't blame him at all. And
Yeah, I agree.
the word is he's going to transfer to Coffeyville Junior College,
Yeah.
play a year quarterback there, and then he'll have 2 years to transfer from Coffeyville to a Division One
Yeah.
school.
And he won't. And the key is he won't have to sit out a year.
Right.
If you come from a junior college to Division One, you don't have to sit out. If you go from Division One, like Iowa, another Division One school,
Now,
you have to sit out.
here's another
But he's
part of-
already used a red shirt.
That's right.
So,
Here's another part of my disappointment. We just played in the Insight Bowl, where a
Oh,
quarterback
yeah.
by the name of Blake Bell scored 3 touchdowns. He scored 12 or 14 during the season. We certainly couldn't stop him. AJ is tailor-made to run that sort of quarterback
Amen.
play.
He
And especially with Iowa's offensive blocking, where
Oh, yes.
Bell takes the snap from center, looks around to where he can find a hole and goes. AJ can do that.
that's tailor-made for AJ.
yeah.
Put him in the red zone like Oklahoma did with Blake Bell, and make hay. And that's what Oklahoma did, not just against Iowa, but against almost everyone they played when Blake Bell was put in.
And he's got the ability to throw the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Strong.
If he plays, he'll be successful.
Absolutely.
Well,
he will
speaking
be.
to that, have you guys heard rumors that Iowa may be looking at doing a spread offense next year?
No. I haven't heard that.
Well, you
Just
know,
saying.
that's
I heard that
depends
recently.
partly how you define spread offense. The
Yeah, I know,
last-
but
the
right
last
now-
2 years, we spread the offense way more than we did for 10 years before that.
Yeah.
We ran a lot of 3 and 4 receiver sets.
Yeah.
And probably will again.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, we better get yours then,
Yes, we had.
because right now, it's gonna be tough going into next year with what,
You know who catches the ball is Steven Staggs.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
He, if it's near him, he catches it.
I guess if you would have
How big
practiced-
is he,
Let's
guys?
see that.
So he's not real big. I think
Yeah.
he's
What
six-
size is he,
He
Mark?
might be 6 foot.
I think
Okay.
about 180 pounds,
Okay.
6 foot, you know.
So, kind of the flanker style, size-wise receiver.
For lack of better definition, yeah.
The old term.
He would be what's often referred to as a possession receiver.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, it's there are a lot of people that are upset with Coach Ferentz or with the coaching staff, with the departures of so many recognizable players. Here in 1 week, we've lost 2 4-star recruits. That's a big deal. Until you look at some of the other schools, like Ohio State, like Michigan, like Oklahoma, 6, 7, as many as 8 players to transfer. It's not that unusual at all.
Well, how do we compare on the numbers? Let's go back. Does anybody have statistics? Let's say we've had a lot of people leave in the last 3 to 4 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
How do we compare to other teams in the Big Ten?
I-
Do we have those numbers?
Well, I don't have any, but I can tell you one area we cannot compare to anyone else, or no one can compare to us, and that's running back.
Absolutely.
What's happened to Iowa at running back the last 5 years is just unbelievable.
Who's the running backs?
Lester Erb.
Mr. Herb, Ken O'Keefe.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what are our prospects for next year? Now, here's another thing.
We've
We
got a
talk
4-star
about-
running back coming in by the name of Garmin.
Mm-hmm. He reads well.
Wow.
Where's he coming from?
Jersey?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Is it Erie?
I
think so.
Here's
Yeah, I
something
think it
that
is Erie.
here's
Wait.
something that concerns me, guys. 2 weeks from today, February 1st. Today.
Is it
Okay.
February 1st?
Yes, it is. It's early
Wow.
this year. Now, we've got all these rumors going right now, all these people leaving our program. We've had a lot of bad publicity lately,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And if you're a recruit and you're out there getting an earful from all the people that are recruiting against us about that, plus, at this point, we can't even tell a defensive candidate who our defensive coordinator is going to be, supposedly.
Supposedly.
Okay, what's going on behind the scenes, who knows? But maybe the staff knows, maybe Kirk knows, and they're out there spreading that word to our recruits, but, you know, that's not a good situation. We're 2 weeks away
not
from
ideal.
signing recruits.
It's not ideal.
And it can't help us. It has to hurt us,
Well,
in my opinion.
one thing that I think is curious is that whenever there's a coaching position open, the university advertise that, and Pat, you can speak more specifically to this, maybe. But they've got to advertise it for, I think it's 2 weeks.
30 days, isn't it, Pat?
You know, I don't know what the time is. What I do know is it's been extended.
Yes.
Which is kind of a mystery here.
That's the point I'm getting to. The deadline has been extended. And is it Kirk?
I would doubt that it is, but it could be. You don't know. I would guess that it's probably the affirmative action office saying you need to find minorities to interview. None of the names that we've typically heard are minority candidates. Phil Parker is obviously not. Darrell Wilson would have been, still would be.
Haven't heard his name, though.
Guy from
Tom Bradley.
Penn State.
Tom Bradley.
No, I mean, it could be something like the affirmative action office saying you need more candidates in the pool. I mean, it could be someone who decided to interview is not available. Somebody who's on one of the 4 NFL staffs that are still playing could be interested in the position and just can't get away to interview.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
But don't you think, guys, it's kind of unusual?
We'd be better off if we had a defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now, here's what's interesting in my experience with the university. Now, you talked about the affirmative action and their policies, and as a businessman, been around the university and dealt with the university for years. Retired now, so I can say these things. And there would be a position open, let's say it's at the university hospital, let's say it's somewhere in the maintenance pool at the University of Iowa, okay? And people would want to apply for that position, and they could apply. It was like, as I recall, they had to advertise it for 30 days and then interview the applicants. Now, I don't know all the legal ramifications you do, Pat, but in many cases, that position was filled from within, and that department in question knew that, but they went through the interviewing process.
Yeah, no, I
okay?
agree.
That's the politics of the University of Iowa and a
agree.
lot of other places, okay? Yeah. So why is that different than what we're talking about now? And since we knew that Norm Parker was going to resign, and I don't know when he actually announced it.
It was the Tuesday before the Insight Bowl.
He's talking about
there you go. So why wasn't the paperwork ready? Why wasn't that 30-day process started then, if in fact it is a 30-day process, instead of, look at where we're at now, Pat.
Yeah,
you
but
can tell me from a legal
I'm
perspective.
not sure Norm had made up his mind.
It was the 20th.
Yeah, sure. Oh.
They announced it before.
It was the 20th of December when they announced it.
Yeah, it was about a week before the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so now,
And they're all, at this point, of course, they're all gone. They're neat bowl preparation.
4 weeks ago today, yesterday.
Probably didn't start the paperwork till they were back, and then that takes it into the New Year's holiday weekend, which probably means like maybe the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th.
They can't backdate those once they make a public announcement?
No, but they do. I mean, Bob is absolutely right. In fact, I think I just saw it with the assistant women's golf coach.
Oh.
Who was
the Seelick
interim or acting assistant golf coach, and then they named her as assistant, and I'm assuming that was because they were jumping through affirmative action advertising hoops.
Well, and then obviously Nebraska doesn't have the same. It's a different state, but what's our defensive line coach goes there, and he's already announced like a week after he left here.
Oh, less than that.
Yeah, to fill the Nebraska position.
But longer than that, after the vacate.
Right.
It was probably about a month over there. Right. After Bo's brother left to go to.
You think it was that long?
I don't think it was a month, but it was.
It was more than a week.
Yeah, more than a week.
It wasn't any 30 days open.
No,
I don't know.
It was probably a couple, 2-3 weeks.
Well, anyway, the whole thing is kind of interesting. It makes me, I guess it makes us all wonder what's going on behind the scenes, if there might be more of a major defensive change than what's been rumored.
But here's the bottom line.
Yeah.
It'll all work out.
Yeah.
Kirk will have us as excited as possible to be. There'll be 20 or 30,000 people in Soldier Field on September 1st.
That's right.
And 74,000 in Kinnick Stadium the next, or 70,000.
You know
the next
what,
week.
guys?
You're probably right.
Pat White here
Yeah.
has a way of making me feel better every time I talk to him.
I'm going to have to hang around with him a little bit more.
I really like having Pat here on the show. I think it's great. Pat, you couldn't have put it better.
That's right. You did good.
And
We've
it'll
got
all work out.
running back, we've got Canzeri. He's got some skills. He's
Yes.
a little guy. Damon Bullock has got some skills, whether he stays at running back or goes to receiver. Brad Rogers has turned into a terrific fullback.
As long as he can
Great
stay
blocker,
healthy.
too. Yeah,
James
that's right.
Ferentz will come back as the best center in the Big Ten. The only one better this year was Mock at Michigan, who
Yeah.
I think won the Remington Award as the
Oh, did he
National
really?
Center of the Year.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I hear now the rumor is that we're going to be short. We're going to lose one more running back. DeAndre Johnson, not happy, didn't get to play.
Well, you know what? He sure might get to next year. I mean,
Well,
He stuck around.
you'd think, but he didn't get to play in the bowl game.
yeah.
He really didn't get to play much at all this season. But you know,
We're
he
going to have some
probably didn't
extra
prove it.
scholarships available, aren't we?
I'm sure in recruiting Garmin, they told him that the opportunity was there for
Yes.
playing time. I don't think this is one thing about the Iowa. I don't think they ever promise anybody playing
No.
time. I think what they promise is that we'll give you a chance to compete for it, and particularly with incoming freshmen, then they visit with them about the pros and cons of redshirting versus playing. I don't think that visit with Garmin will take too long.
No.
as well.
That's true, because you're right,
That's it.
Pat. These true freshmen have been playing at running back,
Yeah.
and that's a good,
Well,
good
it's-
thing right now.
It's not easy to lose the number 2 rusher
Oh.
in the Big Ten, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
Marcus Coker was the second-ranked rusher in terms of yards, total yards.
Yeah.
And a good receiver.
Yeah.
And a good blocker.
Great blocker.
And I think we could all see the Mikhail McCall potential. So that's,
I'm going to have to interrupt this because we have a
Yeah.
special guest coming on the show.
we do.
None other than Ted Supple from Supple's Flowers.
Ted
And
Supple.
Right on time with the delivery.
we've got flowers. Ted, say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Appreciate you being here.
No problem.
Oh, thank
Good
you.
to see you.
We have flowers from Supple's Flowers. Thank you very much.
It's better to be,
That's a tradition that's very nice.
yeah.
Joe, we got
It's
a
better to
door.
be Ted the late than the late Ted.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So, yeah, things are a little unsettled right now as we speak here
Yeah.
on January, what is today, the 19th?
18.
18th.
Yeah, here's one other thing to watch for in terms of running back. I think it's all given that they're going to offer a scholarship and get a signature from some other running back.
Oh, yeah.
Besides just Garmin.
Yes.
There's lots
They're
of room.
approaching 20, but I think they're sorting
Did
out.
we find that guy from Sioux City?
Yeah. Well, we haven't signed him yet, but he's
Who's
verbaled. Michael Malloy
Oh, yeah.
from Sioux City Healing,
Well,
who got
okay.
in some trouble, and now
Yeah.
he's announced, or his coach has, that instead of coming here on a scholarship, he's going to be a gray shirt, walk on,
Mm-hmm.
which you also won't be able to start practicing right away,
Mm-hmm.
and then go on scholarship the second semester next year.
There are rumors that
Okay.
after all the shakeout, there may be a scholarship for him, but it's not promised.
I think there probably is an extra
Yeah.
scholarship or
You
two.
suppose?
Well, Derby and Cokers have suddenly opened up, but they factor all that in. I mean,
Yeah.
you can be sure they've got a whiteboard or a chalkboard or a magnetic board someplace, the names and the number
Yeah.
of scholarships available.
Have you?
Unlike the SEC where they oversight,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
we won't do that.
No. And we've got a new lineman who grew up in Madrid, Iowa, has been at community college out there at Western Iowa. And he's coming in, and this kid he's got 3 years. He only played 1 year out there. And he was a pre-qualifier, but wasn't highly recruited out of high school, and felt that if he went to a community college, he'd get more exposure, more visibility for his talent and size. And by golly, that's what happened. He's a big, strong kid. Can't think of his name right now, but he's going to come in and play defensive line and
Offensive.
offensive line. Thank you, Pat. And, it's one more side of beef, maybe hopefully someone to replace our left tackle who is going to the draft.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a big year of transition. New coaches, new names. And I just have to go back to what Pat said.
Have you heard?
It's going to be all right.
Have you heard any rumors about the defensive coordinator?
Yeah, a lot of rumors. The Penn State coach, the interim coach, Tom Bradley, for one. I heard one the other day, Jack Del Rio, former NFL head coach.
Wow.
Oh, and one thing I did just hear last night, Bobby Elliott is leaving Iowa State
He is.
and going to Notre Dame.
Really?
That makes 3 former Hawkeyes on the Notre Dame staff.
Wow.
With Bobby Diaco and Kerry Cooks.
That's interesting. Hadn't heard that one.
Yeah.
And I think Bobby Elliott was one of the influences that Iowa State beat Iowa this year.
Yeah, I don't mind him leaving Iowa State.
No, that's right.
I'm glad.
He knows too much about the Hawkeyes.
It's not going to make it a bump and barb to see their grandchildren and their son, but so be it.
You know, there's a great story this week about the pitfalls of recruiting. This quarterback from Columbus, Indiana, by the name of Gunnar Kiel.
Yes.
Late last summer, early fall, he verbaled to Indiana.
Yep.
Indiana fans were just all excited. Then, like a month ago, he changed his mind and said he was going to LSU. And then yesterday, rolled at Notre Dame.
Enrolled. Started classes.
Left high school a semester early, like AJ.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Enrolled for classes. So it's not.
And he's one of like 5 kids who started class at Notre Dame today, or yesterday, I should say.
Generally thought to be the number 1
Yeah.
passing quarterback in the
country,
country coming out of high school.
And his name's Gunnar.
Big kid.
Gunnar.
Okay.
Is that a Swedish name or nickname?
You know,
I don't know.
I've seen it spelled Gunnar,
Oh.
and being Swedish, but this kid, he's got an E instead of an A
Yeah.
in the last consonant, and or in the last.
Is he Catholic?
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's indecisive. We know.
By the end of the year, he'll be a convert.
He's going to try it.
Yeah, it's a nasty business recruiting, and I'm sure when
It is.
February 1st comes and goes, that Kirk's going to staff will be relieved,
I'm sure.
and then it'll just start all over again because they're going to have to start going after more juniors.
Never ends.
No, it's not like it used to be.
No, Bobby Elliott is a good coach.
He's a good.
Excellent.
He's a good man too.
Yeah. Well, I've got a brother who coached football for 25, 30 years,
Wow.
and I asked him. He was with a very successful Tulsa high school that won lots of state championships in the large school system. And I said, why don't he'd be unhappy with his coach? In fact, he coached under the former Pitt coach who just left after 1 year at Pitt.
Yeah.
And that was after he was at Tulsa for 1 year and left for Pitt. And then he left there, and now where is he? At Arizona or Arizona State?
One of those two.
Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, well, why don't you take a look at college, Chris? And he said, oh, there is no way. He said, you're never home.
Yeah.
You work 20-hour days sometimes. There's no way.
Recruiting. That's probably why he's in the high school.
Yeah, it had no appeal to him whatsoever, and I don't blame anybody for not wanting to pursue that. So, but there was other news last week other than Hawkeye football. The Hawkeye basketball team did some great things on Saturday. They upset Michigan. Did you get to follow that game?
I heard about it. A friend of mine called me. I was down in Carolina and said, "You're not going to believe this. The Hawks just beat Michigan." He's right. I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
They did beat him.
Yeah, they did beat him.
Soundly, from start to finish.
Wow, that's terrific.
Just like the Wisconsin game. They held, even better than the Wisconsin game.
We look so much faster than Michigan.
And then did you see what Michigan did last night?
Beat
Yes.
Michigan State.
At home.
It's a topsy-turvy Big Ten. The Hawkeyes went to Purdue last night and jumped out to a nice 11-point lead in the first half. And that was in spite of Melsan Basabi, injured and not contributing anything except fouls.
What is his injury, Bob?
Groin.
His hair. Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
It's a groin.
Well, that's too bad because the Hawks played well. They played well enough to win. But, boy, Purdue came out that second half, and they were fired up.
Yeah.
We need a big man.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was very evident last night.
Yeah, we do. We've
Next
got one
year,
coming.
Murph.
Yeah.
We got a couple coming.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the
But,
difference.
I mean, Purdue killed us last night in the second half, driving to the basket, there to stop
Yeah.
them. They killed us on our own court in the first Big Ten game, doing exactly the same thing. Now, they didn't get it done so much in the first half, but they sure did in the
With 2
second.
minutes to go, we were 10, 11 points ahead.
Yeah. And they went on a little 5-0 run
And-
to finish
and
the
second-
half.
and the second half, too.
Yep.
So,
And do you know last night when Michigan beat Michigan State by 1 point, 60-59, they got out-rebounded by 16 rebounds. Now, how does that happen?
Wow.
You win a game and get out-rebounded by 16.
You make a lot of shots.
Making
Oh, I
shots.
guess they
Yeah.
had to shoot a high percentage, but
Well,
60 points isn't a lot of points. But,
Iowa gave up 16 offensive rebounds last night.
jeez.
We just got killed. by
Well, like
the
Murph said, next year when we have a couple big men, especially Woodbury coming in, that's going to help us so much in the middle.
The rebounding really frustrated me because the kids were in position. They're just not big enough or athletic enough to go up and get the ball. The Purdue guys were bigger, better leapers, and at times in better position. It was maddening.
Here's what I think is the best news about Iowa men's basketball, and I don't know if Fran realizes the extent to which this is true. People are starting to care again.
Oh, yeah.
They're coming.
They're coming to the arena. They're
That's
watching the games on
They're getting
TV.
upset when they lose.
They're right. They're paying attention.
Yeah.
And they have enough interest that they think we should be winning again. Whereas for about 3 years, nobody really.
It's kind of
Yeah.
nice.
Oh, it's great.
And
Just
you know
great.
what? You can see the improvement and the enthusiasm with the team itself.
Well, you're, like one of you said, they were 11 points up the first half. And with 2 minutes to go, I said, they still had a 10-point lead. I said, I wonder if they'll blow it. And sure enough, they did.
Yeah.
I think that,
But they came back.
yes, but basketball is a funny game because the ball bounces. I think that, what's his name?
McCaffrey.
Fran
Mac-
McCaffrey.
He substitutes. I think about 2 or 3 people went in with 2 minutes to go, and they blew an 11-point lead.
Yeah, he put Brahmer in there.
I know that. That's
Yeah, yeah.
And he made a dumb
Couple-
play right away.
Right away, yeah.
it just makes you.
You know who did help though off the bench last night and against Michigan?
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
He got a
Rebounding.
couple rebounds.
Yeah.
And against Michigan, he got that rebound and kick out that, Marble scored the basket right at the end of the first
Sure
half.
did. He
Yeah.
showed some moxie out there,
Yeah.
some toughness.
But I wish he wouldn't substitute and hold. If he'd have held an 11-point lead, I'd have been happy. But
Well,
it went down to 5.
not having Basabi,
Oh, boy.
we're just a much better team with Masabi
Well,
being
that's right.
active and effective.
Yeah, he's had a
But
tough
he's not
year.
a big man.
He plays
Yeah.
taller than he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
You know who else is playing taller than he is, and he had a really good game last night, is Zach McCabe.
That's
Yeah.
right.
He is so strong. When he gets a hold of the ball near the basket, I mean, he starts up, and I'm thinking, well, this is going to get swatted away, and he puts it in.
He's got a great pair of hands.
He really
And he's
does.
got a keen sense for where his opponent is and how the opponent is going to react to his approach to the basket. And I think what you're talking about, Pat, and it's not just 1 game or 2 games
No.
where he does that little magic
Yeah.
act under the basket.
He has lots
Well,
of heart.
He can finish.
He's
It's not tricky.
yeah, he can
Yeah.
finish.
He's up
Can
and
finish.
nobody swats it away, and he
Yeah.
puts it in.
Good, strong hands and a
Yeah.
good sense of timing to get his opponent off guard. But yeah, nothing tricky.
He's a great competitor.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought Eric
got that instinct.
Be
He does.
tremendous.
Yeah.
This year, but
Well, he had a personal high for points last night and contributed the long. Didn't get himself into foul trouble for once.
And
He's
points,
been playing
points
well.
were,
Yeah.
not last night, but against Michigan.
Uh-huh.
I think he only got 1 last night.
Who?
May.
Eric May.
Oh, I was talking about McCabe.
Okay.
No, May had a rough game.
No.
He, Fran talked about it afterwards, and I thought, while I was watching the game, doggone it. He's doing everything right
He's working
except
hard,
finishing.
just not going
Yeah.
on.
He's getting
talking
to
about
the-
May?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Eric
yeah.
May from Dubuque Waller. He would drive the lane, get with the feet, get a good open look, and miss it. He would be under the basket for a rebound, go up, and somebody bigger would beat him to it.
Somebody needs to teach him how to use the bank board. because he doesn't have a touch. He's not a good shooter.
Yeah,
You know,
But the Gators had another good game last night.
oh, I'm gonna,
well,
I'm gonna.
not as good.
Yeah,
They really were on him last
they,
night.
Oh,
they
they-
shut him
they
down.
shut him down.
Until the very end of the game.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's part of why McCabe was open a couple of times. I
Yeah,
noticed that
yeah.
they were draped on Matt.
I saw Matt in the first half drive the lane or have possession of the ball and not get it to a teammate who was open. And I was frustrated with that last night. Not a lot, but I saw that in the first half, and I thought he's being indecisive. The Purdue defenders are taking him out of his game because I saw his game open up for him last night, if that's a way to put it, and he wasn't able to get it to his team or to create his own shot.
I thought he passed well, played pretty good defense.
Yeah,
But
he did play good defense.
on the other hand, against
Yeah.
Michigan, he may have played his best game as a
Oh,
Hawkeye.
he played his best game as a senior, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think Dirk may have heard this, but I've made a prediction this week about Matt Gatens. Watching him play now for 4 years, I happened to see his post-game interview after the Michigan game. He's got a tie on.
Yeah.
He's well-spoken, and I said to myself, and now a few other people, I don't know if it's going to be 10 years or 15 or 20, but he's going to be the head basketball coach at the University of Iowa.
Wouldn't hurt my feelings.
That could happen. He wants to go into coaching, doesn't he, Pat?
Yeah, he
Sure he
does.
does.
Yeah.
He speaks well, he presents well,
Yes, he
or
does.
presents himself well. You know from having been around him, all of us growing up, that he's a well-rounded kid.
Well, Mike and Julie should be proud.
They are. They are. And
They
you
are.
know they are.
Now, Mike
Deservedly
answers
so.
that when he hears that, he says he's proud of all 3 of his kids.
Well, that's,
He
yeah,
would want to throw that in,
yeah,
which he is.
yeah.
And they ought to be.
Yeah.
You know they are. Both the girls.
I'd say that too about my kids, but I might be lying about a couple of them. You know,
And,
it depends on the day, right?
and
Ain't that the truth?
that West basketball coach Bergman, what's his name? Bergman.
Bergman.
Yeah,
Steve
he
Bergman.
wanted
Yeah.
at quarterback Monday. He wanted needle.
Well,
Mike?
it goes both ways.
Yeah.
And Mike just
They've known each
smiled.
other a
Yeah.
long
Oh,
time.
yeah.
And Mike,
Well, they're
believe it or
golfing
not,
buddies, aren't they?
well, Mike's a West High grad.
Yeah.
And they are golfing buddies. They go way back.
Oh, yeah.
I go way back with Bergie and Gator right after I graduated. When I first got to know them, and they're both characters. And when you get them together,
Oh,
and God help you if Randy Larson is with them.
I lived at the Gators.
Oh yeah, that's right. I felt like I lived with Steve Bergman back in the day because he was over at our house just about every day.
yeah.
When I'd get home from work, just hanging out, talking basketball. It's nice to see him have success this year.
Now, I've been gone for a couple of weeks. Are they still undefeated? Wes?
Undefeated.
Okay, wow. Good for them.
Defeated. They just whooped up on Keokuk last night. Bad.
With only one senior in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Terrific.
They're impressive. I haven't seen them play.
Yeah.
I want to, but they've only got a couple more home games besides the postseason.
I see them on the news and stuff like that. They look
Yeah.
like that really fast.
Yeah. And the West High girls are undefeated,
Oh.
ranked number 1, and just blowing out the opponents.
And Regina got beat last night.
Yeah, the girls finally, well, I shouldn't say finally, they got beat
Yeah.
for their second game in a row. Mid-Prairie upset them at Regina. But I want to get back to Matt Gatens for a second. We kind of got steered off track
Yeah.
here. Monday at lunch, Pat and I were having this conversation. And I think it's okay to talk about it here. And Pat just touched on it, but Matt Gatens is going to make a great coach. But what about his career post Iowa? I think great opportunity to see the world and play some ball over in Europe, and I think, Pat, you agree?
I do. I think he will need to get out of this environment, to experience something different, to play for different coaching staff, just see some different styles. And so my assumption is that he's probably not going to make it to the NBA. Not a lot of people do.
No.
That he'll play overseas for a year or two and then take a coaching job back in this country.
Wouldn't it be something if he did catch on with an NBA team? Wouldn't that just blow
Sure.
people away?
Or, you know, the other thing that could happen to Matt is, you know, he might go on somebody else's staff as a grad assistant or something immediately.
But he could do that in a couple of years too.
Yeah.
We talked to Mike, and he's going to play as long as he can play.
Kenny?
Yeah.
Is
And
he?
you learn a lot playing, and you just he
Yeah.
needs to play in a different system and a
Yeah,
different
yeah.
environment. And when you grow up in Iowa City, often you don't fully realize what a great place to live this is.
That's right.
Mhm.
After you get away for a couple of years, you are inclined to want to come back more than you were initially.
Well, if I
Sure.
were Matt, I would love to get out and see the world.
Oh, yeah.
Go to Europe.
Go to Europe.
If you ever see his girlfriend,
Yeah.
yeah, she's pretty.
She'd be hard to leave behind.
I think she's. I wouldn't leave unless she went with me.
I'm sure that can be arranged.
Well,
Well,
if she's
Pat
watching this show, she's probably going to put the pressure on Matt. Then.
Pat and I were talking. There were some other former Hawkeyes who played in Europe, like Greg Bruner.
Yeah.
Who else did we
Luke
talk
Recker.
about? Luke Recker. And we believe they both took wives over there with them eventually. Not trying to put the cart
Yeah.
before the horse there,
Yeah, but-
Matt. But
Well, that's for sure.
yeah.
Cash Alexander's right now in Vienna.
Ah,
Think about
Christy
living
Smith,
there.
I think, is Jared Cole's playing in Iceland.
That's right.
now.
And it's cool up there.
what,
He said,
what
Not
about
cooler than it is here today.
That's right.
what about the women? We going to talk about the women?
We are going to talk
Yeah.
about the women. But before we do, I want to
Yeah.
finish up with the men for a second. The men
Okay.
don't play again until next week. They've got a 9-day break. School just started yesterday. So it's kind of nice timing for the guys to get
Yeah.
their classroom wings back under them. And they'll play again next Thursday. The women, meanwhile, had a heartbreaking loss on Sunday
Oh.
at, again, our hated rival, Purdue.
Yes.
Number 17 ranked Purdue just squeaked by. Pat, I can't remember. Do we get a chance to play Purdue here in Iowa City?
Yes, February 12th.
Thank you.
Go
Abraham
Red for
Lincoln's
Go Red
birthday.
for Women Day.
Ah,
Okay.
Midwest One Bank has bought 2,500 tickets, which they'll
Wow.
be giving away.
That's terrific.
That's Charlie Funk.
Charlie
Right.
Funk, Sue Evans,
Yeah, and Sue.
Nick Pfeiffer.
Sue sits next to me at the women's games. Her and Lori Lucina. I like sitting next to them. They're fun.
They're big fans.
They are. They
But,
they participate in all of those text message contests that they put up on the scoreboard,
Yeah.
and trivia contests, and
The women Sunday had a similar problem to the men last night and gave away too many offensive rebounds. Purdue came away with 24 offensive rebounds against us Sunday. And
Wow.
when you lose by 2, if you just deny one or two of those offensive rebounds, you're going to win the game. And then we turned the ball over 18 times.
Wow. That says it all, those two
And
things.
still only lost by 2 points.
2 points. Well, you got a freshman point
With
guard.
no bench. Our bench scored nothing.
Yep.
Jeez.
Every point
Zero.
we scored was scored harder.
Any idea when the last time the Hawkeye women's bench scored 0 points?
I don't know.
It's got to be a while.
Yeah.
This is a fun team to watch, and you're going to get another opportunity to see the women tomorrow night, Thursday night, here in Iowa City. They have got Wisconsin coming to town. Does Wisconsin still have the same coach?
No, they've changed.
Yeah.
I can't think of the name of the new one.
How good are they this year, Pat, the Wisconsin
Are
one?
they
I think they're.
bottom half of the Big Ten?
So
I don't know what they're
That's
over.
good. We need
It's
that.
a very
we
winnable
need
Well,
that
we
right
need, we
now.
need a win. But
Yes.
as I've said several times, we haven't played anybody that we can't beat.
no.
I mean, we've lost games,
Oh,
and
yeah.
our record is not nearly what we would like it to be, but we still have not been on the court with anybody that's blown us out or that you say, well, they're clearly better than us.
Yeah.
I mean, we're as good as anybody.
What is their record now? Like 10-7 or something like
Well,
that?
it's 2-3 in the conference and 10-7 or 10-8 over.
10 and 8
Okay.
now.
10-8 now. Okay.
They have the same record as the men overall, and the men are 3-4.
No, we're 11. The men have won 11.
Oh, that's right. Okay, well then.
One as many as we did last year at this point.
Yeah, I think the women
Yeah.
are 10 and 8.
Okay.
And what are they? 2-3.
Yeah.
Okay.
2-3 in conference. They've had a
Oh.
break. since and
Yeah.
now play third. I'm sorry, they had a break last
They
week.
had their bye week last
Yeah.
week. They didn't
Okay.
play on
How many
Thursday.
games do we have left?
The women have 11 left in conference. Women play 16,
And the men play
and
18
the men play 18.
in conference, yeah.
What
Yeah.
are the
Why
men
is
have?
that, Pat? Why isn't it the same, I wonder?
I can't tell you why it's not the same. The men started playing 18 2 or 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just
the
a
women's
balance?
their tournament a week
Yeah,
early
right.
is
Okay, that might be the
a
reason right
factor,
there.
and they don't want to start conference play before Christmas. It's
Yeah,
It's getting closer
a
to
little
that,
bit of a
though.
hassle. It's been bumping right up against
Sure
Christmas.
is. Well, the women have, as Pat has mentioned, have had an unfair number of injuries, and they've got a lot of walking wounded out there. None more so than Morgan Johnson, who's got terrible tendonitis in, I think, both knees.
Yeah.
She banged up an ankle Sunday at Purdue.
And her head
Oh, that's right.
fell and hit hard the back of her head on the floor.
I tell you, that
She's
gal,
a gamer.
she is tougher than nails, and she comes back smiling every time. I wish you could see her,
Yeah.
Bob, because she is just a picture of joy out there, and I think she lifts a lot of her teammates up, especially the younger ones.
yeah.
Younger ones. What's
Morgan's a junior,
Oh,
and it's still a ton of fun to watch them play. I hope you can get out tomorrow night before the next snowstorm hits Friday.
Tomorrow night is Camille Wallin bobblehead
Ooh,
night.
that's right. Get there early.
What time is the game?
I don't understand
7 o'clock.
bobbleheads,
Okay.
but
Oh, I love I've got every one they've
Do
ever
you?
given away.
You
You
gave me a
bet.
bobblehead.
yes, I did.
Yeah.
They are popular. They're back again this year.
Yeah, and then they have to go after hosting Wisconsin. The women have to go to play Penn State at Penn State on Sunday at 2 o'clock, the same time that the wrestlers are at Penn State at 2 o'clock. Different gyms.
Interesting, yeah.
It is interesting. The men don't have a game, as we talked about this weekend. But
They don't play till Thursday next week, right? Nebraska?
That's correct.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't this way. I wish the women and the wrestlers didn't appear at the same time. The wrestling meet is going to be on the Big Ten Network. The women's game you'll
Is
have
that-
to listen
is
to
that
on
Penn State?
600
Is that Penn State?
WMT. Yeah, at Penn State. Both of them. The women's game.
Yeah. Because KXOC, even though the wrestlers on the Big Ten Network, they'll still broadcast it on the radio.
They do wrestling first,
Wrestling first, yeah.
and then women.
Mm-hmm.
So the women's broadcast will be flipped over to MT,
Okay.
which is great because
Yeah.
that has a greater reach
Mm-hmm.
with the signal than does KXIC
Yeah.
800 AM. So that's what's going on Sunday. The wrestlers are going to be at Ohio State. Ohio State is ranked, I think, number 8. Penn State wrestling is ranked number 3, right behind Iowa, who's right behind Oklahoma State. So it's a big, big weekend for the wrestlers. I think it's a big week for the women basketball. Thursday night, it's a winnable game. Sunday, what's Penn State ranked, Pat?
They're good.
Women.
They're good. I forget what their ranking is, but they're generally regarded as the best team in the conference.
I saw them here
Yeah.
last year and was just incredibly impressed with them.
Yeah.
And their coach. I thought she was pretty sharp. I thought last year she won that game for Penn State here. Just my impression.
Mm-hmm.
She just made some pretty strategic moves late in the game that put it away. I didn't catch up to them. They're going to have a tough fight Sunday.
But you know what? Iowa's about ready to jump up and get somebody because
Yeah.
they've had some bad breaks and close games and injuries. My goodness. Does anybody have worse luck than Lisa on injuries over the years, Pat, huh? I mean, just not good luck, I guess.
Just keeps on.
Yeah.
Joe,
Yeah.
it does keep on.
Little good luck would be good.
It would. Now, we've got just a couple minutes left here. We haven't talked to Regina getting bumped down to 1A. That's going to be interesting.
Didn't Bud predict that for us?
Yeah.
He did.
A few weeks
Yeah.
back.
About 2 months ago. he
Yeah,
did.
that's right. Yeah, he was on top of it.
Well, and he knows what the numbers are, and I thought it was interesting today in the paper. I don't know if any of you guys saw this, but Butch Peterson from West Branch, he's already complaining about it. Because it's not just Regina that got bumped down into their district, but Sigourney, Keota, which is a perennial state title contender.
In football.
And then there was one other, I'm drawing a blank right now. It's pretty interesting to see, if you go to the Press Citizen website, they've got I don't know who put it out, if it's AP, the statewide AP network, but they've got, I guess, projections or rankings as of now for the new alignment in 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A, even A and 8-man. City High, not even listed. Nowhere.
Seriously?
West High is ranked, again, preseason, it's not even the same school year. So a lot can happen. But West High is up there, I think, around 8th or 7th. No listing for City High, which...
That's got to be a first in many years.
That just baffles me. But it's interesting to see the movement of the different teams. Go to the Press Citizen Prep site, and it's real interesting.
There's some strange things in the 4A districting, which covers western Iowa, but not the Mississippi Valley, which starts out making it strange. But West Des Moines Dowling and West Des Moines Valley are in different districts.
Isn't that something?
Figure that one out.
Yeah. little politicking going on there,
I think maybe so.
Well, a lot of people are concerned because the last 2 seasons, Regina has just steamrolled their district competition. And now they're moving down. But,
They also graduated 24 seniors.
Exactly. We've had Marv on the show recently. We've heard Marv speak at different luncheons that we've attended. And he wants to make real clear that these last 2 years, they had an abnormally large amount of boys in the senior classes.
Yeah.
And that's not going to continue.
No.
There's going to come a day, and it might come soon. Might not be this year. Could be next year, when the competition catches up with, or the numbers catch up with Regina. They're just not going to have that fluke.
But they'll have a good staff.
Boys.
Regina will have a good staff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, at first I was a little disappointed that they were being considered for moving down, but when I hear Marv explain it, it makes all the sense in the world. I mean, it's a numbers game, plain and simple. So, having said that, guys, we're going to have to wrap it up. Joe Murphy is sticking one finger up, and I think he's testing the wind. We have run out of time here on Sports Opinion, but we do want to thank you for watching every Wednesday night at 7 p.m., every Sunday at 6 p.m. on Channel 18. On behalf of Bob Boyd and Pat White and Earl Murphy, I'm Dirk Keller, saying tune in every week, and thanks for watching. And remember this, either you're a Hawk or you're not. Go Hawks!